That thing always cuts off. Always. It never finishes what it's supposed to finish. Anyway, let me know if my audio is all right. Found out right like 2 seconds before I logged in here that my son had been playing with my sound mixer, and so I sounded like a gremlin on here. I mean, he was cracking up, but I didn't find it very amusing at all on this Friday. And it's been a heck of a week. Like it's been a pretty big news week, and we're gonna hit a couple of things that I found fairly interesting this week. Not the least of which, last night, and this isn't on my show sheet or anything like that, but last night there was a little hubbub. So you had James O'Keefe, and if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that uh, you know my feelings on like red flag laws and ex parte, what do they call restraining orders, TROs. Uh, so that happened last night, and it ties into our like Second Amendment rights and what this whole network is all about. This is the Guns in the 701 network. I am Leon Francis, your host, and this is Blackbeard Logic. And so last night I'm looking at a story come through on my Twitter feed, or X feed, I guess you call it now. Um, and it's James O'Keefe. Apparently, cops bust in his home, take all of his guns because some whiny, crybaby, sissy pants ex employee got an ex parte TRO on him, meaning he wasn't there to contest it. Like, he's completely out of the loop. This guy got a restraining order on him, and with red flag laws and restraining orders, your gun rights are automatically stripped from you. So cops come to your house, take all your weapons, which is a very good argument for never having all of your weapons in one spot. I'm just going to say that. Or, you know, your weapons are pretty lucky that they had that unfortunate boating accident, that sort of thing. But that's neither here nor there. What I'm telling you is these things should be illegal right off the bat. And I didn't even have this in my show sheet, but the problem with a TRO, the problem with red flag laws is it's like the Minority Report. Have you ever seen that show, the Minority Report, where basically it's pre-crimes? So you haven't been convicted of any crime or anything, but your constitutionally protected rights are taken from you preemptively. You haven't done anything, and that's what happened. And yesterday last night I crafted a post after I got my days, back in line because they were not. I don't know why. Yeah, this week has been a weird one. But David Letterman, I don't know if you remember this, had some crazy chick get a TRO, ex parte, on him. I think she was like in Missouri somewhere. Thank you, Dan. Audio is good on YouTube. Good deal. But so I think this crazy chick was like in the middle of the country. She went to a judge. She's literally insane. She went to a judge and got a restraining order on David Letterman because apparently, and this is a quote, he was harassing her through the TV. So his TV shows that he had on every night apparently was causing her like mental distress. The judge granted her the TRO. Letterman had never met this crazy lady, had never seen her, never spoke to her, nothing, and this lady was granted a TRO. Now, granted, somebody like Letterman has tons of money. He was able to squash this thing pretty much immediately. But think about if you don't. Think about if you're just a Joe Schmo from Piscopo or from Fargo or from Bismarck or wherever, and or James O'Keefe, and you get a knock on the door and it's SWAT guys coming to steal your firearms because some crazy dude is, just throwing lemons in your lemonade. It this is the kind of stuff right here. And if you think it doesn't happen, it can't happen because we live in this was in Florida. So it doesn't matter that it happened, that, we live in a red state, we should be insulated from this kind of government overreach. Nope. This was in the red state of Florida. Good old Ron DeSantis, the state that everybody kind of holds up as a model to, what red states should be and should aspire to. This happened there. Now, the good news is he was able, within 24 hours, to reverse that, and they had to give him his guns back. Eli, quit running. and he was able, I think he should have got an apology. I think it should have been front page news. I think that the dude who got the ex parte TRO, I think he should be brought up on charges because this wasn't a domestic violence incident. He wasn't stalking this dude, like none of that. But this guy was able to do that and circumvent James. Like James O'Keefe, everybody knows him. He's kind of a target of the left, and the left is crazy. So, we're going to talk about in the show today how dangerous the left actually is. So you got a guy like James O'Keefe who is readily recognizable. I'll just say that by pretty much anybody, and you disarm him, and for what? Oof, that could be bad. I had a couple of folks in my feed make that comment, that exact comment, that this could have went very badly. Hang on. This could have went very, very badly. Here, give me a second. So, last night, and I'm just going to talk about this for 2 seconds, and then we're going to dig into the meat of the show. I said, did you hear police just showed up at James O'Keefe's office, seized all of his firearms. This is to enforce a temporary restraining order, a TRO, filed by his former colleague. I'm not even going to say the idiot's name. The case is labeled domestic violence stalking, even though they have no family or domestic relationship and there was no actual stalking. And I said, this is exactly the problem with red flag laws and TROs, especially ex parte ones. O'Keefe wasn't even allowed in the courtroom to respond before it was just granted. And the judge, once he granted the TRO, well, let's backtrack. I gave the example of a judge once granting a TRO to an insane woman against David Letterman. Already discussed that, and the quote was, "He's abusing me through the TV." Ex parte TROs like this are 100% unconstitutional, should be illegal. Using one to disarm a journalist and shut down his investigative work raises serious questions about the abuse of the legal system. It's not protection. It's an attack on the First and the Second Amendment. And don't think for a second you're safe in a red state. This is happening in Florida. Due process still matters. And I got a ton of feedback on this. Priscilla says, the first time this was done in Maryland, the gentleman was shot dead in his home. His sister-in-law was mad at him and did the red flag thing. He never had his day in court. It was unconstitutional. And someone else said, Charlene said, that's what worries me about O'Keefe. There are a lot of crazies that would like to take him out, and that is 100% true. Like, that's an actual, like, if I were him, living where I live and doing the things that I do, I would have been afraid for my life. I'm not so much out here because I'm in the middle of nowhere and we are very, very well armed out here. So there you go. And I also have to be careful what I say on this stupid platform. Obviously not Restream, but Facebook because I found out that I'm being severely shadow banned. Like I can post something. Again, this is not in the show, but just something worth noting. Since the beginning of the year, I've had well over 500,000 views, closer to 600,000 just on Facebook. And that's with them shadow banning me. I can post something and 5 minutes later try to view as, and my post isn't there. Think about that. That's, to me, that's crazy. But that's someone like me, uh, you know, way out in the middle of nowhere. If something like this were to happen to a guy like me who is kind of opinionated, you know, liberals are on my feet all the time. Think about how dangerous that could be. Anyway, hey Dave, how's it going, brother? All right, let's dig into the meat of this thing here. So, obviously, the big story of the week is the Southern Poverty Law Center, that grift, self-proclaimed warriors against hate and poverty. Those guys have had their hands in the cookie jar a little bit. And the week started out with that breaking news from the DOJ, and what I did was I posted this video that I'm going to play right now.
Did you ever wonder how, just when Democrats need a distraction, racism seems to raise its ugly head?
It was a weekend of street battles and stark displays of racism, exploding into a deadly act of domestic terror. Tonight, we examine the hateful groups that now appear to be banding together. Why are they now emerging from the shadows, emboldened and growing in numbers?
Hate no longer hides behind hoods.
The SPLC secretly funneled $3 million in donor funds to violent, racist, extremist groups.
Behind hoods. This was the scene in the liberal college town of Charlottesville, Virginia on Friday, reminiscent of images from a dark American past.
So this is a racist rally, and we should name it as such. I'm less interested actually in the rally and more interested in how this rally functions.
I could see.
They funded a large number of false flag right-wing organizations and events.
How this rally functions.
I could see from my office here in New York City how this was building. This was not just predictable, but predicted.
Well, the most striking thing is how well organized it was. There was people doing crowd control. There were people dropping people off at specific locations. There was security. There were people handing out extra tiki torches. Everyone who was there knew exactly what they were signing up for.
I'm joined now by...
This is the ultimate grift. Manufacture the problem. Sell the solution. Pocket the donations. All while spreading racism and lies.
What they were signing up for.
I'm joined now by Mark Potok, a former senior fellow at the Southern Poverty Law Center.
I think that this is a new generation of racists who, as Carol and Leonard both have suggested, were in large part created by Donald Trump and others like Donald Trump.
Today, the DOJ charges the Southern Poverty Law Center with wire fraud, false statements, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. I think they should also be charged with a hate.
Now, I do believe that they should be charged with a hate crime. I think that what these people have done, and folks like me, and we're going to play another clip of Stossel way back in 2018, basically saying the same thing, and Charlie Kirk, because Charlie Kirk was put on the SPLC's domestic terrorist racist group. Like basically if you were right of center, you were on this list. That's how it went. And Joe Biden's entire, like, his whole thing, the reason that I'm running is because I remember seeing those violent people with tiki torches coming out of the court, like children of the corn, and blah blah blah. They bludgeoned Donald Trump with the whole unite the right, which most, well, I would say almost 100% of my friends recognize that whole thing for what it was. It's like, wait a minute. Like, who are these idiots? Like, what were they doing? And there were other events where you had the khaki pants and the polo shirts, and everybody was like, "Well, look, those guys are feds." You remember that? Because I do. They try to memory hole this stuff, but it seems to me, and if you guys just take 2 seconds and kind of think about it, anytime the left needs to gin up racism, apparently they can. And we were like, wow, like I'm a black guy. I got tons of white friends, like tons, and I'm not talking about like that uh, gay black dude. You know, he probably has tons of liberal friends because they like that type of dude. I'm a rough type guy. So the guys that I would gravitate towards and would gravitate toward me, they'd be more the toxic masculine type, like these fine folks right here. Like yes, you know, you see those. These are my good friend Jamie and Axe. You know, so like, you know, look at this. Look at this. We were just all kind of hanging out, getting along. We didn't. I'm like, so where's the? And I guarantee you, most of the black people in this country have interactions just like me and Jamie and Doug and Bob Wheeler and Dan and, you know, all of that stuff. And so I don't see it. I didn't see it, yet it's everywhere. Like, do you remember when they were saying the biggest problem in the United States was white supremacy? You remember that? You did the pig just move? No, I don't think so. I did not get to partake in that pig, but that is a glorious dude up there. I bet he fed a lot of dudes. Look at that thing. Oh my God. The good eating off of that bad boy. But back to Dave, stop getting me off track here. I mean, thinking about pork and all. But anyway, I remember like for almost 10 years, there's like just hate everywhere you look. If you open the car door, there, hey, it's hate. You know, that's pretty much what the left was serving up. You couldn't turn on the TV without hate. You know, some kind of right wing extremist, white supremacy group doing something stupid and whatnot. And you have to wonder, like, how do they know that these guys are doing this? Like, where do these guys come from? I purposely drive in my truck looking for a rebel flag, but not for the reasons you might think. But I can't find them. Like, I try to find these white supremacists. Hey, are you a white supremacist? I walk into a bar, I like the Bismarck, downtown North Dakota. And again, I've told this story before. I was a coon ass, fresh off the boat, like just got to Fargo, North Dakota. It was 100 inches of snow on the ground. My car, because it was rear wheel drive, because I'm a Southern boy, so you know this is a Monte Carlo, you know that type of thing, and so I couldn't drive worth crap on ice, and I ended up kind of crashing my car. I couldn't, in like over a curve or something. However it went, I couldn't get it out by myself. So I went to, I think it was called the Bismarck. Can't remember. Um, like if you know what I think it was the Empire and the Bismarck, or vice versa. Anyway, I walk in there. I'm a black dude. nothing but bearded. And you got to remember, this was back 96 to 97. Into 96, 90. There were like 2 black dudes up here. That was it. And I walked in there and like everybody stopped. And I'm like, they're like, hey, buddy, what do you need? All these bearded Vikings in there drinking heavily. And so I just kind of told them. I had my hand like kind of on my little piece there. I'm like, oh, this could get stick. Nope. I must have drank a good 6-pack and probably 4 or 5 Jaegs before we got out there and pushed my car. Like everybody wanted to hear my story. Why are you up here? What's going on? Like, you need some help, buddy? Don't you worry about it. And that's the America that I know. But if you watch any measure of the mainstream media, that is not what you get. You get all hate all the time. The white man's got his foot on your neck. And I'm looking around, I'm like, I'm all right, So I don't get it. Buffalo Wild Wings enjoying a tall Coors Light at the moment. Yeah, JD. Hey, JD, I don't know how long you've been on, but I just remember this picture here. We were just talking about this bad boy here. Remember that? How about that? A little bit of that right there. Good deal. Anyway, so let's get back to the show. It's Friday. I feel good. I'm glad it's not yesterday because I was discombobulated like you wouldn't believe. But I'm going to show you something. This was, let's do the indictment first. And then I'm going to show you how long this grift has been running. And to be fair, it's been running much longer than this. I believe a lot of these civil rights groups, their entire modus operandi, their entire reason for existence is not to fight actual hate. Because I believe that in America is probably the least racist country on the planet. The least, bar none. And it's especially the least white-dominated country on the planet. I mean, you go to a black-dominated country, you get all kinds of hate. Like, it's not even funny. They don't talk about it. But it's 100% true. In America, that is not it. You're judged on your merit. You're judged on your merit. If you walk in my house, and I'm a black coon ass from Louisiana, so I'm Southern black. But if you walk in my house and your pants are sagging and you're using Ebonics and you got the gold teeth in your mouth and I'm looking at you with some side eye, I mean, and that's not me being racist. That's just me using mother wit. And I believe that we've been sold a bill of goods in this country for a very long time that says that white people are racist, and these groups glommed on to the grift, and they have made serious money off of the ignorance of liberals. Serious money. Here, let's play that indictment.
Here today is to announce what the general just told you. The Southern Poverty Law Center, in a massive, sweeping indictment, has been charged with allegations of fraud and using the banking system to perpetrate that fraud. I just want to talk about a couple brief things here. The Southern Poverty Law Center themselves advertise to raise money to dismantle violent extremist groups for a period of at least a decade. They use their donor network to raise money to purportedly dismantle violent extremist groups. However, the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, used the money they raised from their donor network to actually pay the leadership of these very groups. I just want to say that again. They used the fraudulently raised money by lying to their donor network, thousands of Americans, to go ahead and actually pay the leadership of these supposed violent extremist groups. The groups, as the general laid out, include the Ku Klux Klan, the United Klans of America, Unite to Right, National Alliance, the National Socialist Movement, the Aryan Nation Motorcycle Club, and the National Socialist Party of America, and also the American Front. In at least one of these matters, our investigation revealed that funds were used to facilitate the commission of further state and federal offenses. totaling over $3 million.
Wow.
Furthermore, our investigation revealed that the Southern Poverty Law Center, on top of perpetuating this widespread, decade-long, multi-million-dollar fraud, conducted more criminal activity. They attempted to hide their criminal activity from our financial banking network. They set up shell companies and entities around America so that the financial institutions that we rely on as everyday Americans were deceived in believing that money was not coming from the Southern Poverty Law Center in the perpetration of this scheme and fraud, but rather fictitious entities they stood up to perpetuate this ongoing fraud. This is a serious and egregious violation of a group that purported to dismantle violent extremist groups, but in turn actually only fueled the hatred. This is an important case brought by President Trump's administration. We're thankful for the president for his leadership and funding of not just the FBI and DOJ, but his commitment to go out there and wipe out fraud and conspiracy and waste and abuse wherever it occurs, including the Southern Poverty Law Center. Even though this money was made to appear to be coming from legitimate people and legitimate entities, we at the FBI, with our great partners at the Department of Justice and in the state of Alabama, were able to comb through a decade worth of material, a scheme that took a decade to build, so that we were able to follow the money, because money never lies, and they got caught. As the Attorney General said, these charges are varying, they are widespread and wide-ranging, and this investigation is very much ongoing. Today we're here to announce the charges of the Southern Poverty Law Center, and this investigation and the individuals who are responsible will be brought to justice. Thank you, General.
Now, we're gonna go to break here in a second, and then when I come back, I'm gonna show you how long this grift has been going on. The Southern Poverty Law Center is worth like $1 billion some odd dollars, and I'll give you two guesses where the bulk of that money is. It's not here in America. I'll just say that. And I think that this is good, but now I think they should do the ACLU. I mean, the left, it's like we used to think that the mafia was a big thing. It's like the mafia looks at the left and they're like, oh my God, if we had organization like Act Blue, do you guys realize that the majority of the donors in Act Blue are like very old people that never gave to Act Blue? Like there are investigative reporters, which is why places like California is trying to do the Nick Shirley law, because there are investigative reporters that go out, knock on doors of these donors, and talk to these people and say, you've given like 100 times to Act Blue, and the people, on the other side of that donor list, the names that are attached to those donations, they're like, wait a minute, I never did that. Why aren't we investigating that? Like the left, and here, the other day, I came up with this graph, and I made a Facebook post of it. The Democrat Party isn't a political party anymore. It's an ecosystem. You have Antifa. That's their military wing. Now, you saw how hard the mainstream media went after, like, the Proud Boys. And, even just the media coverage and hype of, like, Unite the Right and all. Why don't we get that same thing with Antifa? Like, Antifa actually has billions and billions of dollars of property destruction, violence, theft of property, destruction of public property, assault, like just a litany of crimes committed. Yet you hear nothing. You hear nothing. Nobody is going after them. The judiciary and their lawfare wing. We went through this with Donald Trump, and everyone that was connected to him, even by a hairstring, were drugged through the court system using lawfare. The media, is the propaganda wing. Act Blue, their money laundering wing, which is huge, huge. And that is something that I think that if Republicans want to solidify their, go after Act Blue. Do that thing, and you'll have everybody. You'll have all of us in like, yeah, let's do that thing. You'll have us all pointed in the right direction. You have the SPLC and the ADL. Target, that's the targeting and labeling wing. You have education in Hollywood. That's the indoctrination wing. You have Soros and the NGO network is something else that needs to be dismantled. And that's a 3-hour show. But this is the financial and operational wing. And once you put all these pieces together, everything starts to make sense. They don't even hide it. They don't have to, because they have captured all of these organizations. Something we're going to talk about later in the show is like the distrust now in organizations in America, organizations that were purportedly set up, to help and aid Americans, and it's all been a grift. Like, people are just making, like, the homeless grift, like billions and trillions of dollars shoved into at the homeless problem, and it's only getting bigger, and nobody is asking why. We could have bought every single homeless person on the planet a house for the amount of money we've thrown at the homeless problem. Yet the homeless people are still homeless. Why is that? Because everything is a grift. And once you understand that, you'll close your wallet to charities. You'll close your wallet to people asking for you'll be like me. I'm frugal, man. To squeeze a nickel out of me, oh, I got to know you. I have to have drank beer with you and whiskey, shot things with you, like killed something, field dressed it, threw it on the spit outside, and ate with you, broke bread with you for you to get a donation out of me. Like, it's not happening, because I know better. And when we come back, we're going to see what John Stossel had to say back in 2018, I believe this is, about the Southern Poverty Law Center. So, Leon Francis, Blackbeard Logic, on the Guns and the 701 Network. We'll be right back right after this break.
Hey, it's Leon Francis from Blackbeard Logic on the Guns and the 701 Network. I'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors. Stay tuned.
When you want it done right, go where lemons go. Kalen's Auto Service, owned and operated by Kalen and Misty Foss, lifelong locals with over 25 years experience. From modern rides to classic restorations, they can handle it all. Top quality work, fair price, and honest hometown values. Located just 1 block south of Highway 12 on 6th Avenue West in Lemon. Kalen's Auto Service, serving you with all your auto repair needs.
LAUER Auto Repair, located at 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Give them a call at 701-258-6308.
The team of mechanics at LAUER Auto can take care of any problem your vehicle is having. And when you do business with LAUER, you can be assured you're doing business with a pro Second Amendment America First repair shop. There are plenty of other auto repair shops in the Bismarck-Mandan area. But why take a chance at patronizing a shop that might not have your beliefs at heart? Make no mistake. LAUER Auto is your pro Second Amendment repair shop. When you talk to the guys at LAUER Auto, don't forget to tell them that you heard they are a sponsor of Guns and the 701 and that you appreciate their support of our pro Second Amendment, pro North Dakota live stream and podcast. That's LAUER Auto Repair, 701-258-6308.
701-258-6308.
Located 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Come on, no.
Welcome back. It's Leon Francis with Blackbeard Logic on the Guns and the 701 Network. Let's get it.
Leon Francis, Blackbeard Logic, Guns and the 701 Network. And Dan, you are spot on. The Hegelian dialectic: create the problem, watch the reaction, be the hero, provide the solution. Everything is not what it seems. and you were spot on. And Democrats are very, very good at that. Back during the civil rights movement, there was a lot of that going on, and it's why people like me, I don't look up to people like Martin Luther King, because I knew what a piece of crap he was, and I know that he was being used to get the black folks, to get those black votes for the Democrats. I know that. Like it, I've been saying that since the Chris Berg days. I don't know how long. The longest person in my on my feed remember me from, but I was the guy that wrote forum articles denouncing MLK and putting forth civil rights leaders who were actual civil rights leaders, who were honest men of actual character. Like we talk about MLK, content of character and not color of skin. If we judged MLK on the content of his character, he'd be in a jail cell. He wouldn't have gotten shot. He would have been in a jail cell because he was a crack addict. He was a cocaine addict. He abused women. He was a philanderer. He was not a good person. But anyway, I digress. I'm gonna calm down a little bit before I lose folks on the stream. We're gonna go to John Stossel, somebody I've been following for a very long time. Good God, I can't even remember the first time I saw a Stossel video. Now I don't agree with him 100% on 100% of things, but he's pretty dead on I'd say 80-90% of things. He's like a libertarian in the truest sense of the word. Like we get new age libertarians and that sort of. Stossel is old school libertarian. That's why I like him. That's why I followed him for so long. But this is him back in 2018 talking about the Southern Poverty Law Center.
There are dangerous hate groups in America who will warn us about them. The media have an answer.
The Southern Poverty Law Center. The Southern Poverty Law Center.
The Southern Poverty Law Center, based in that building in Alabama, calls itself the premier group monitoring hate groups. Looking at their map of such groups, you'd think America was consumed by hate.
My God.
I once believed in the center's mission. Well-meaning people still do. Apple just gave them $1 million. But what donors don't know is that today the center smears people who don't deserve to be smeared.
The presence of radical Islam.
This woman grew up in Somalia, suffered female genital mutilation, so now she speaks out against radical Islam. For that, the center put her on its list.
So, did you see that? This woman was a Muslim. She experienced female genital mutilation. And I'm not going to get into that. Look it up. But it is a very heinous thing meant to rob little girls of the pleasure that comes with having sex. It's meant to make them less promiscuous. That's the thinking on it. So they mutilate their lady parts so they can't derive pleasure from the act. And they do this to tons, well, I'm not going to say all, but tons of little girls in Africa. It is a horrendous practice. And like her speaking out about her life experience in the Muslim dominated countries was enough to get her put on this list. Think about that. Think about how crazy that is. Here's another one.
Multiculturalism failed these communities.
This man was once an Islamic extremist, but then he decided radical Islam was wrong, and now he criticizes the radicals. The center labels him an anti-Muslim extremist, too.
Join the fight against hate and bigotry.
Visit SPLCenter.org.
I do think that we have a problem with hate in this country.
We put about 10 of these major hate groups out of business.
The center's leaders, Richard Cohen and Morris Dees, would not talk to me. So commentator Nomiki Kant stepped up to defend them.
They have a history, a long history of fighting against extremists like the KKK.
Years ago, Harper's Magazine reported that the center is the wealthiest civil rights group in America, one that spent most of its time and money on a fundraising campaign. Now, Morris Dees did once promise to stop fundraising once his endowment hit $55 million. But when he reached $55 million, he changed that to $100 million, saying that would allow them to cease costly fundraising. But when they reached $100 million, they didn't stop. Today,
they have an endowment that now is over $320 million, much of which is in offshore accounts, Caymans and places like that.
How do you know?
Oh, we look at their 990s.
And it says Cayman Islands?
Now, I want you to look at this. This was 2018, and Stossel was able to research this. I mean, none of this stuff is hidden. Again, like I told you, they don't have to hide it. But this is in 2018, and I think their worth was $300 some odd million. Two guesses. Throw it in the comments what they're worth today. But I also want you to look at this, where the majority of their money is in the Cayman Islands, the British Virgin Islands, Bermuda, all of these offshore accounts. Why is that? They're a nonprofit. You know, why is that?
Pay some of their people more than $400,000 a year.
Well, it's 2017. It costs.
It's 2017, guys. How many of you out there, except for like Jamie or Dan? I'm kidding. How many of you guys are? I'm not making $400,000 a year. I'm just gonna burst your bubble right now. Your humble host ain't making nowhere near that. But you got this liberal with her liberal glasses on and her upspeak and all of that. Well, you got to make a living, $400,000. Apparently that's the living wage in a liberal's head. Something that tons of Americans, and I would wager that the majority of Americans don't make $400,000 a year in 2018. That's crazy.
A lot of money to exist in this world.
The Southern Poverty Law Center now lists people like Ben Carson, Laura Ingraham, and
if Ben Carson is a white supremacist or extremist of any kind, we're doing this thing wrong. I love Dr. Ben Carson, but he is the furthest thing. When I think of a right-wing extremist, he doesn't even make the top 500,000. This guy is so mild-mannered. I don't think I've ever heard him utter a mean word about anyone. Like Laura Ingraham, I can see. I little fire. We all know who she is. But to have someone like Dr. Ben Carson labeled as an extremist, that's a red flag. I mean, like, what are we doing? What are we? If you are to the right of Dr. Ben Carson, you are a white supremacist, apparently. Everybody is to the right of Ben Carson because he's the most meek and mild-mannered person you would ever want to come across. I met the guy in person. Like, his voice, you have to, get real close to him just to hear him speak, He's passionate and all, but if he is an extremist, my God, what are we doing?
And Jeannie Pirro is extremist, but it doesn't list Antifa, the hate group that beats up people on the right. The center's become a hate group itself. It's now a left-wing, money-grabbing slander machine.
And he's spot on about that. Now, this was in 2018. I'm going to show you something here. 1 second. This is their filings from last year. Well, no, 2024. And I believe that these are doctored. it's showing here that they brought in 129 million in revenue from 2011 to 2024. It looks like. No, that can't be right. That's just in 2024, and their expenses was exactly that. So everything that they brought in, they spent it, which I do not believe. But what I want you to look at is their total assets in 2024. It's almost $1 billion, 822 million bucks in 2024, and I believe that these are doctored. Total liabilities is 35 million bucks. Check that out. Now check this out. Where's the majority of their money? Look at this. Look at this. The SPLC had 518 million in total assets, up from 477 million on last year's balance sheet. And this was, I believe, this was 2024. But what I want you to look at is down here. This past fiscal year, the SPLC's non-U.S. equity funds rose to 121 million, compared to 92 million last year. While the SPLC is entitled to invest this money as it sees fit, stashing over $100 million in offshore accounts is certainly a curious decision for an organization with poverty in its name. Putting tens of millions of in tax havens is, and think about that. These left-wing people, like the entire ecosystem, is about tax the rich, eat the rich. The rich don't pay their fair share, and you got organizations like this that don't pay taxes, and then they hide the money that could possibly be taxable in offshore accounts. You remember when, and I remember when Dave Chappelle said he knew that Donald Trump was going to win, is when they were on that debate stage, and Hillary Clinton, and you had all these liberals, and they were going on about Donald Trump not paying his taxes and blah 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 and this and that, and Donald Trump said something to the effect that they're all corrupt, and the guy asked, the commentator asked, well, how do you know that? And he's like, because if they were serious, then they would have to go after all of their friends. And I know the system is corrupt because I use it. And everybody's mind was blown. It's like, I'm not doing anything illegal. I mean, these people have been in government for forever. I just got here. Everything that they're saying that I'm doing, like with tax, like he's not paying his taxes, he's using these loopholes and blah blah. They could have stopped all of this, but they're not going to, because all their friends use the exact same tax havens that I use. All of it is legal because they wrote the laws. It's them, and I use it. Yes, I do. And everybody, and Dave Chappelle said, and a star was born. And that's 100% true. These people are grifters. And I'm going to say something else. I believe that the more we dig into this, you're going to see a lot of right-wing influencers that have been paid by shell companies of the ADL and the SPLC and other liberal think tanks and grift firms in order to sow division among the ranks. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. That's my Southern coming out there. Dave, wow, I didn't learn that in... Oh, you must be referencing the MLK. Dude, I've been talking about that dude for a very long time. Like, ever since I set foot. Like, I think the first public exposure that I had in this area way back in like 90 something, the end of the 90s, was about MLK. Like, I don't celebrate MLK Day. I don't think that we should. I think he was a garbage person. And in one article, I named about 20 people that deserved to have. Like, if you're gonna do this whole Black History thing, I named about 20 people who, like Rosa Parks. How many folks know that Rosa Parks was a plant? Yeah, she was an actress. She had a car. They tried to stage that whole bus thing like 3 times. They did another. They tried to stage it another time with another actress. They tried to stage it with her a couple of times. This is the one that we all know and remember. That's the one that took. Like, it's all a grift, all of it. It's again the reason we homeschool Eli is because I want him to know real history. I want him to understand what this country is really all about, not the BS that they teach you in school. Because I guarantee you, I could have a podcast and blow all of your minds with actual history. And my history is flawed because it's coming from, like, my understanding of ingesting knowledge. And if you've ever met me, you know, I'm all right, but I'm not the brightest bulb in the box. But even I know, even I can see when things are like, wait a minute, wait, what's going on here? This isn't right, sort of thing. Like, my thoughts on Malcolm X might surprise you. My thoughts on the original Black Panthers might surprise you. And history is not black and white, which is what they try to teach you in school. It's not. It's complex, man. It is complex. When I talk about the Black Panthers, I talk about what was going on in that time. White people being stupid, black people being used, the communists. Like, if there is a winner in American history, and this is going to cheese your noodle, if there is a winner in American history, it is the communist movement. We'll talk about that on another podcast because I think that they've been wildly successful. Martin Luther King was a communist. That's what he was. He tried to run from that label when they started investigating him. He was like, oh, no, I'm not a commie. I'm not a commie, but I want a chicken in every pot. You know, he was that type of dude. and that's why they liked him. That's why he was prolific. People listened to him. He had that commanding presence from sea to shining sea, and blah, 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 blah. And it was all BS. When he was done with his plagiarized speeches, the second he got off of that podium, he put baby powder on the back of his hand and he slapped a lady of the evening. That's the type of dude he was. He snorted a line of cocaine, baby powder on the back of his hand, and he was slapping. Anyway, I'm done. All right, I'm done. I'm done on that, dude. Don't get me started, Dave. Yeah. There's again. You want to go there? 2 seconds. Adolf Hitler admired a lot of Americans. A lot of Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger. He actually invited her over to Germany because he wanted to understand the American answer for the black problem. Eugenics was not a German thing. It was an American thing that Germans learned from Himmler. Dude, I could go on. Like, you think, like, everyone talks about Goebbels and the propaganda. Goebbels learned propaganda from America, from the American leftists. He studied the American propaganda machine. Like, you want to get into it. Oh my God. All right. We're gonna get back on track here. You guys get me off track and whatnot. Now, this one is a little sad. When we're talking, sorry, man, I'll stop. Yeah, don't do that to me, man. You know what gets my dander up. Hang on a sec. Yeah, I gotta calm down now. Don't get me on that. So we're still on this garbage organization, but highly profitable. Like, you can't take that away from the SPLC or the ADL. And I've said this once, if I said it a million times, the left is brilliant because they do things that people like me and you guys and gals with a modicum of moral turpitude, they know that a lot of their captive audience are idiots. They know this and they capitalize on it. And they're profitable because and a lot of folks in the right, that whole ecosphere, they have that same mindset. It's why I get emails and all of this stuff. Donate to this. I don't do any of that because I'm not an idiot. And those guys are wildly profitable because they understand one thing. People like to glom on, even if they have a inkling that it's a grift. They like to be part of a movement. And that's all these people did. That's all the ADL did. That's all the SPLC did. They capitalized on the ignorance of their captive audience, and it's been wildly profitable. Wildly. But it's also been very, very dangerous. And this point that I'm about to make will be the most poignant point that I'll make on this topic. The SPLC is dangerous. The left is dangerous. How do I know that? Watch this.
Understand that they're literally putting high school chapters of ours on a hate group next to the KKK and next to neo-Nazi groups. And I mean, we can laugh this off. There's an element to this. Remember that there was a shooter that went to the Family Research Council years ago, inspired by the SPLC list. This is them trying to make us basically surrender at Turning Point USA. We're going to do the opposite, and our students are only going to lean in even more. But they can't debate us on our ideas. They cannot have dialogue. They cannot actually go onto the merits of why they are right or why we might be wrong. Instead, they must smear us with the age-old one-liner that you are a racist or that you are a hater. And they're finally realizing the power of Turning Point USA, which is why they put us on this list.
Well, when you're effective, you're a threat.
When you're effective, you're a threat. And I wanted to, in this segment, on that. This guy was over the target, Charlie Kirk. He was over the target. They put him on the list. And he was I'm just going to say he was a big target. He's young. He's articulate. He was reaching the young folks in their indoctrination camps, in the very place where they're indoctrinating our children. What Republicans and conservatives and folks on the right were doing, we were basically talking to the grown-ups, trying to get them to see reason. And the left knew better. Communists, they know better. Get them young. That's why they want Head Start. They want your kid as young as they possibly can get them. Shoot them up with all that experimental garbage. And then mold their very malleable minds in these public school settings and things like that. And we were not effective on those campuses until Charlie Kirk. And he showed us that, hey, it is possible to get in there with love, with reason, and debate it out, and then re-engage those critical thinking skills that these young folks do possess, they've just been turned off. I mean, you have to turn off your critical thinking skills to make it in these Ivy League propaganda mills. You have to. I mean, how else can you get a female who God put in her a nurturing spirit? How can you get her to turn that off and say, my body, my choice? How can you do that? How can you get people like Michelle Obama, who obviously had probably one of the more privileged lives in America, in the world? I mean, the Obamas are mega wealthy now. Barack Obama lived all over the globe. But you can get those guys to talk about the white man with his foot on their neck. For the first time in my adult life, I'm proud of my country. You're married to the President of the United States. You don't have an accomplishment to your name. You look like a man. And here you are on the world stage, powerful, with a massive audience, a massive voice, and you're going to push this. This is what you choose. You don't choose to tell little girls, little black girls, little white girls, that you can be whatever you want to be. And it has zero to do with your skin tone or your gender. Just get in there and grind it out. No, Kamala Harris, same thing. Like, they captured these kids. And then they saw Charlie Kirk go into the belly of the beast and reach people. Reach these kids. And it is my opinion, they put a target on this dude and they took him out. And that is why organizations like the SPLC and the ADL are so dangerous. They want you to believe that it's the right that's dangerous. We are. But we're not crazy. They're crazy. They are certifiable. We are dangerous. Like, I don't know, I cannot think of a single one of my, especially male friends, that are not dangerous. My son, I'm raising him to be dangerous. Dangerous. There's nothing wrong with being dangerous. Because we got people, like the people that murdered Charlie Kirk, running around in this country with money, with power, with influence. If you're not dangerous, you're going to end up a victim. And with that said, I'm Leon Francis. This is Blackbeard Logic on the Guns in the 701 Network. This is our second commercial break. Be right back right after this.
Hey, it's Leon Francis from Blackbeard Logic on the Guns in the 701 Network. I'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors. Stay tuned.
LAUER Auto Repair, located at 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Give them a call at 701-258-6308.
The team of mechanics at LAUER Auto can take care of any problem your vehicle is having. And when you do business with LAUER, you can be assured you're doing business with a pro Second Amendment America First repair shop. There are plenty of other auto repair shops in the Bismarck-Mandan area. But why take a chance at patronizing a shop that might not have your beliefs at heart? Make no mistake.
Make no mistake.
Lauer Auto is your pro Second Amendment repair shop. When you talk to the guys at Lauer Auto, don't forget to tell them that you heard they are a sponsor of Guns and the 701 and that you appreciate their support of our pro Second Amendment, pro North Dakota live stream and podcast. That's Lauer Auto Repair, 701-258-6308.
701-258-6308.
Located 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
I am Leon Francis, and this is Blackbeard Logic on the Guns and the 701 Network. Let's get it.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back. Yeah, you guys get me on a tear sometime. I like it though. I mean, it's a good little outlet. Leon Francis, Blackbeard Logic, Guns and the 701 Network. So SPLC. I think I'm gonna be with my buddy Harry Schumacher on Open Range on Beck Wednesday or Thursday. I'll nail it down. I'll throw it on my social media. And we're going to talk a little bit about the SPLC and the history of the SPLC, what's being uncovered now, and that sort of thing. So stay tuned for that. I mean, as you guys probably already know, for Tuesday's show, we had Dustin Garlow on, and it was a good show. And if you missed it, I put a link on my social media so you can go and take a look at it. It was a pretty good show, but I had family issue that came up. My dad, who is very stubborn and who doesn't listen because, you know, he's 150 years old, so he's got that right. But sometimes, you know, he does things that he really shouldn't do without assistance. And I understand it, but he took a spill, had to take care of that. But I couldn't do the show. He's okay. You know, everything's fine with him, but I was not able to, and I was happy that we were going to have Dustin in the hot seat, and he, instead of being in the hot seat for one segment, he filled in for me, the incinerator, the entire show. So I'm happy he did that. It was a very good show, very lively. Dustin and I, you know, we have like a sibling relationship. Like back in the day when I first came on the political scene in North Dakota, me and Dustin and Port, we were like the three amigos almost. And then I leave for a bit and I come back and I'm just like, what? Wait, what? But the things I can't take away from Dustin is the dude is very smart. Like when it comes to crunching numbers and data and that sort of thing, like I'm down here. Dustin is well above me, and I used to, as a younger man, to kind of hold my. I'm not that dude anymore, dude. Nope. I will build you a data set that will crunch that data for you. I am not the dude to do it, but Dustin is. So you need guys like that. And he sat in for the entire show in my spot, and I'm grateful for that. But I will be on with Perry Schumacher on Open Range, Beck TV, next Wednesday. And I'll put out reminders for that. So, you know, you guys tune in for that. It's going to be a blast. We're going to talk about this evil entity that is the SPLC a little bit more. So in this hour, two topics. One, and I'm going to get through this one quick because I don't like Ilhan Omar. I think she should have been gone a very long time. I hate having to talk about her. I really do. But something she did this week, it's worth talking about. I mean, I remember them just dragging Trump through the muck and the mire because apparently he does what every other businessman on the planet does. Uh, he builds a building. It's the best building. It's the most glorious. It's the most expensive. And he goes into the bank and he goes, "This building is worth $2 billion, hands down, and that's a steal. That's a deal." And then the bank goes, "Okay, Donald." He does. The banks did exactly what I would do if someone came at me with that line of BS. They're like, "Okay, we're gonna have our guys take a look at it," and then they negotiate. But if you read the art of the deal, you know that's his style. That's what he does. That's why the dude is the dude. Hands down, he's the dude. But they wanted to make a thing out of it, even though the banks were like, "No, we sent our own people in there, and we evaluated. He got the loan, he paid it back. We're all good." I mean, it's like would we do another loan with them? Yes, we have been for the past 50 years because he's great at paying them back, and so there was no actual victim there, but they wanted to get Trump. They had to get it. And so they just smeared him, and there were 37 felonies and blah, 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 and this and that. So I found it comical that Ilhan Omar went from having a negative balance in her bank account to being worth over $30 million. And I remember there was a period of about, I don't know, a month or two where people were like, "Wait a minute, how the hell did that happen?" What is going on here? And then only after a ton of scrutiny did she walk it back. And again, she filed paperwork claiming that her net worth was $30 million. And I start thinking, wait, did she strike some Somali oil in the backyard of her, wherever she's living? Did she monetize all those Benjamins that she always talks about? I mean, what? And then when people started digging, then that money just kind of went away. It's all a accounting discrepancy. And now she's claiming she's worth about $18,000, maybe $95,000, and even in that, that's a big swing. $20,000 to $100,000. That is like, so. I file my taxes and I tell the IRS I made between, I don't know, $20,000 and $100,000 this year. You think I'm going to get audited? Throw it in the comments. Do you think your boy is going to get audited if I send to the IRS? I don't know how much I made. It was somewhere between 20,000 and 100,000. Do you think that they're going to be like, okay, we got to send some people over there? And not just that. Like, these people know how to grift. And I don't believe that old Ilhan is up there alone and she's the only person up there grifting. But because of all of the fraud, the massive amount of fraud in her state, I think that a lot more eyeballs are on her. So I don't feel sorry for her. I don't think she should have ever been a congressperson. I don't think she should. I mean, her background is sketchy enough. And it's well known, her background. Like, her last name isn't even Omar. I mean, do just 2 seconds of digging, and you'll find that out. You'll find out that that the family that she came over with wasn't even her family. Like, it's wild, that story. But to bring it back to here, she's going to tell us that one minute, she's got enough money to, like, charter private jets and have Diddy parties, and now she's like, "Oh well, QuickBooks made a mistake." And the funniest thing about that is, when you look at like her holdings. After she downsized, that winery that was worth millions, all of a sudden went poof. It went completely away. Like, oh, nothing to see here. Yeah, like if, yeah, I can't imagine waking up and hearing that voice. Absolutely. Oh, I can't even. I used to be able to do a Ilhan. The way she speaks, like, no, Leon, you can't say that. I'm not going to say what I was thinking. So, Dan, I'm going to sit on my hands on this one. But you're right about that. I could not deal with her. I'd be like, what? What's in your mouth? Spit that out. What are you doing? But here, I'm going to play this. I call it Fishy Ilhan. Oh no, Omar. Here we go.
To disgraced Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. She's been the subject of multiple accusations and controversies, and today she's facing renewed scrutiny over major discrepancies in her financial disclosures, particularly tied to a California winery and her husband's business holdings. In those filings, Omar reported that she and her husband held assets valued at $30 million. Much of that was tied to two businesses connected to her husband, a venture capital firm called Rose Lake Capital, and also a California-based winery. The winery alone was listed as being worth between $1 million and $5 million. The sudden increase in her worth raised red flags. Watchdog groups and House Republicans launched investigations.
There are dangerous hate groups in America.
Sorry about that, guys. Oh, come on. Nothing works the way it's supposed to. What are you doing?
To disgraced Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan.
65,000 before coming into Congress to over $30 million in just 7 years.
My disclosure is public now.
Yeah, it is. And so a lot of people now are looking into that and finding S. Crew Winery, a winery that doesn't actually seem to exist. Is that a real winery, or?
Do you all actually look at and read things, or do you just ask silly questions?
Well, it's listed in the financial disclosure, so can you explain it? Because we have a lot of questions about it, and things just aren't adding up. There's no real phone number. There's no real location.
Why, did you want to buy some wine?
Probably not from you, to be honest.
So, did you hear what she said? There's no real location. There's no actual phone number. And if you remember, I've done several shows where these foreigners come over here and they run this grift on us. Like, we think of ourselves as a first world country, and we're so smart. We're so smart. These people come over here and eat our lunch. They come over here and they eat our lunch. And granted, like, the IRS goes after folks like me hard. For folks like my buddy John Trandom, who owns his own business and reports quarterly, right? So they go after, like, you better have every single dime and nickel accounted for, because they will run an enema through your filing. I'm just going to say that. She's my favorite reporter. Yeah, I love her because she's another Sarah Gonzalez, Now, granted, if she was if she had a story on me and she was as tenacious, I'd hate her, because they don't give up, man. They're right in your face, dude. But again, back to people like these foreigners. They come over here, and the liberals will have us thinking that, they're giving back to society and they're low crime and they're this and they're that. The amount of grift in these and I'm not just talking about the Somalian community. Like, that's a big problem. But the fact that all of these foreign actors can come over here and just make out like bandits. Like the Nick Shirley thing in California. I think most of that was like Russian and Croatian or something like that. In Minnesota, it's like the Somalians. And I know, like, in North Dakota, especially when I used to work for KSI, and this was way back in the day. There's no KSI. KSI was the sister um, um, plant for Federal Beef. If any of you guys are old enough to remember that, when you used to process beef out there, we were the kosher plant. And so we were the sister plant, and it was down on like 12th Avenue, no, 7th Avenue, I believe it was, back there. And I remember the Vietnamese and I think Bosnian, those Bosnian dudes. Oh my God, the cars, the gold, the like the money those guys used, and I'm like, how do you guys? They couldn't speak English. I mean, you'd have to have like a couple of folks there that you hired just so they could be able to speak to these guys. These are poor immigrants getting government assistance, refugees getting government assistance, and my God, they'd have these cars tricked out like just I. And here you are, the poor working stiff, and you're just like, wait a minute. I, and you're right, Dan. I can't blame them for coming over. You have to blame the people that facilitated and allowed all of this. Pirates do what pirates do. You are 100% correct. It's why I have a loathing for Lutheran social services and the Catholic charities, because they have made a ton of money, bringing a ton of people here. And when I say here, I'm not even talking about the broader United States. I'm just talking about the North Dakota and Minnesota area, uh, the Fargo and the Minnesota area. I don't know how it is out west. I know how it is out east. And it's unbelievable the amount of money that these charities have been raking in, these NGOs have been raking in. And littering our communities, straining our resources. Your kids in school, English as a second language, and having to deal with other cultures that don't mesh with the American ethos, and your kids have to deal with that. It again, if you're not upset, you're not paying attention. Have you checked out the site that tracks the visas? No, I have not, but that might be something I need to do. But getting back to her and all of the shows that I've done where you see this in real time, like she's got this winery. It doesn't have a phone number. It doesn't have an actual address. It's just like something on a page that's worth millions of dollars. It's a grift. And they do it very, very well. And you can only do that if you have the people that are in place to be the watchers on the wall turn a blind eye. It's why Americans' faith in our institution, and that's across the board, is all but gone. Like, I don't trust it. Even the FBI under Kash Patel and Donald Trump, I don't trust those guys. I don't trust the CIA. I don't trust the you name the alphabet agency. I don't trust them. Absolutely don't trust Lutheran social services. I remember when they were trying to put that Taj Mahal right off of I think 52nd, and people were like, "Wait a minute, how do you guys get a hold of that much money? I mean, you're a charity." Well, NGO. Yet they're politicians across the board. Their main job is to figure out how to spend the money they steal from you. How to just get it out the door and then get more from you. Like, it amazes me that the people, the descendants of the folks that were pissed that the king was putting a tax on the tea. The tea that we just kind of quietly open up. We don't even open up our wallets. The government goes, you don't need to open up your wallets. We're just going to take it from you without you even seeing it. You just go to work. We'll take it out your wallet before it even gets to your wallet. And we're all right with that. And all that hard-earned money is going where? Ilhan Omar has a winery that is basically just on paper that's worth millions of dollars, that after it was disclosed, she revised down, and now it's gone. It's gone. Like, all right. I'm going to finish playing this.
Honest, recently stated that the American people should be afraid of the white man. They should be fearful of the white man.
I never said that.
Yeah, you're on video saying it.
Our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country. I did not.
Yes, you.
Again, this is like.
So what she said was, you said that we should be afraid of white men. And Ilhan Omar said, I did not say that. And so they played the clip of her saying it. And there she is still denying.
Like what I said, you need to prepare yourself, because you can't continue embarrassing yourself like this.
So I'm just a liar.
What I was quoting was an actual study done by the FBI.
Okay, thank you.
Prepare.
And did you hear that? Now, Ilhan wasn't wrong. But again, when you think about the erosion of our trust in our institution, that's one of the reasons. The FBI actually said that, which is a unmitigated lie. Like, it is the biggest lie. I can't stress enough how big a lie that was. And the FBI coming out under the Biden administration and Obama administration saying that white supremacy and white domestic terrorism was the biggest threat in the United States. And you're like, wait a minute. Like, all you got to do is have eyes. And you're just like, wait, what? But because they said it and the media spins it out there towards you, you're supposed to just swallow it. So she said that, and she even backed it up. And she's not wrong when you given the sources of her information. It's the craziest thing, and we lived through. Again, George Washington and those boys, they'd have been shooting by now. I'm just saying.
All right, thank you, Congresswoman.
Let's finish this.
Omar, the last time I spoke to you, you said that I was stupid for asking you about your financial disclosure, but there's some discrepancies on there. Would you like to explain them? How did you make such a big mistake on
I
this?
still do think you're stupid for asking me anything.
I am?
Yes.
Well, what about the American people who are wondering how you made such a big
I have
mistake?
explained.
I think you're stupid for asking me.
I have given them the explanation.
Do you want to tell our viewers? Because they're.
I don't want to tell you jack shit. Oh. How about that?
Okay.
Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
Wow.
Ilhan doesn't believe she has to tell us anything. Her legal team maintains there was no wrongdoing and that the correction was made voluntarily and that the issue was identified. But it was only identified after we started asking questions. The House Oversight Committee is investigating. A drastic drop in net worth when the numbers change this much. The questions only get louder, and we will continue pressing for answers.
Yeah, that is just crazy. And again, anybody with eyes to see can see how that was 100% grift. Now, the thing that's really going to cook your noodle is, like, I've had conversations with friends of mine. Do I think anything's going to come of this? No. Like, we see, like, I am outraged by new findings pretty much every day. And until I see arrest coming, till I see what was it? The $11 billion in the grift in Minneapolis. Until I see that money recovered, and I see a story on that, and I see the NGOs tied to that, the heads of those guys going to jail. Until I see people like Tim Walsh and Ilhan and all those folks being perp walked, it's just another story. It's true. There is theft. These people are all crooks. But why wouldn't they be? I mean, what's the downside? She's walking around right now with 30 million bucks just unaccounted for. Like those Somalians that just walk through the airport with millions of dollars in a friggin' duffel bag. That if me or you tried to do the same thing, we'd be under the jail. Under the jail. Like, what are you doing? $1 million? No. They'd take it. They would confiscate that money on the spot. Even if they couldn't prove a thing. If they couldn't prove a single thing, like you're not a drug dealer, you didn't swindle the money out of it. The fact that if me and my buddy Dan Hager from Dan Hager TV, we decided to take a trip to the Bahamas. I don't know why we would do that. I mean, but just, walk with me here. If we decided to do this thing, and I got a duffel bag, shoved $1 million in there, and tried to get through Hector International, we'd both be in jail. We'd get out, but if I told them something to the effect that it's none of your business where I got this money from, I'd never get that money back. Like, there's a name for it. I'll put my own lotion on, Leon. Yeah, that's for damn sure. I ain't. Homie, don't swing that way, homie. But one, I'd never get that money back. Two, I have feds following me around for years. Three, I'd have the IRS up in places that you don't want anything going up in. That would be your living situation for 10 years or more. But these people were allowed to get, I think it was over $200 million through the airport. Just bags of money. And fly back to Somalia. If that doesn't cheese your grits, I don't know what will. Ilhan right now, I guarantee you, is sitting on that 30 million. It's just now, since they've been caught, they have to stick it somewhere else. Her stock portfolio is going to, just wait, next 5 years, it's going to just outperform Nancy Pelosi. I guarantee you it will. And until I see her and her husband perp walk, this is just another story to get my blood up. That's all it is. And the IRS will keep rolling on. They'll keep stealing your money. They'll keep stealing the sweat equity of your labor, the money you could leave your kids. They're going to just keep doing it because there's no repercussions. There's none. Like I said, they don't believe that we are dangerous. I believe that we are. They tell people that we are, but they don't believe it. Because if they believed that the red-blooded Americans like me and Dan and Jamie and Doug and like all of the folks up and down my feed, if they believed that we were dangerous, they would not pull crap like this. If they believed that we were of the same metal as our founding fathers, there's no way they would pull crap like this. There's no way. Because they would understand the ramifications. They would understand it. And I'm going to put this segment to bed right now while I have a fairly stable blood pressure. What I'm going to end the show on is this, and I'm going to segue into this. So, I don't know how many of you guys are fans of Shawn Ryan. I have been a fan of Shawn Ryan for quite some time. Like I like shows like Joe Rogan, and I know, and again, you guys have to, with me, I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. If people say a couple things I don't agree with, I'm not that type of person. So Shawn Ryan, I like his podcast. I like Joe Rogan. Even though sometimes, and again, Joe Rogan is a jock. I like to listen to him because he is to me, he's a knuckle dragger like I am. And he is. So he gets things right, he gets things wrong, but the meat of the reason I listen to people like that is it keeps you grounded. Like when you listen to these podcasts, you don't feel like it's political speak. Like they're not trying to game you. It's just conversations amongst dudes. And with Shawn Ryan, because I'm kind of in that whole like my friends, family, organizations that I work with are military oriented, and that's the world that Shawn Ryan comes from. So I listen to him routinely. So he had this interview, and the interview went for like 6 hours. Like they had to break it up into 2 different interviews, but there was a lot in these interviews, and it ties into, like, they're talking about the Pat Tillman situation. They're talking about Iraq and Afghanistan, and just tons of problems. But what I'm gonna zero in on in the next segment, after we come out of this break, it affects like our war fighters now. It affects the Donald Trump. It affects our military machine now. And it is like, if you listen to the entire thing, and I hope you do, I hope you just sit down like I did, and I broke it into like 3 days, I think it was. I just sat out in my garage, cracked open the cold one, turned it on, and listened. It is mind blowing. Especially when you see, like, again, I have tons of veteran friends, and they're salt of the earth people, good people. But some of the guys calling the shots are not. And I shrink from using profanity. So before I do, I'm just going to, Leon Francis, Blackbeard Logic, Guns in the 701 Network. We're going to be right back right after this break.
Okay, let's go.
I am Leon Francis of Blackbeard Logic on the Guns and the 701 Network. Let's get it.
Anvil Brand LLC, raising and training tomorrow's barrel horses right out of Bismarck, North Dakota. Tracy and her family are great American patriots who not only support the Second Amendment, but they also promoted what you're looking for, top quality barrel horses. Go ahead and give Tracy a call at 701-471-6629 and tell them Guns and 701.com sent you. That's Anvil Brand LLC out of Bismarck, North Dakota.
At Horton Laser Craft, we believe in the power of personalization. Whether it's a cherished memory, a special occasion, or a unique gift, our custom laser engraving brings your vision to life. Our expert craftsmen and state-of-the-art technology ensure every piece is a work of art. From personalized decor to one-of-a-kind keepsakes, Horton Laser Craft makes every moment unforgettable. Visit HortonLaserCraft.com today and start crafting your perfect gift. For more info, email them at HortonLaserCraft@yahoo.com or call them up at 605-545-7535. Horton Laser Craft, where memories are engraved.
Yeah, hey, look, I got the moves like Michael, the flow like Aubrey. Walk around thinking I'm a prince like Saudi. Mismatched Converse, t-shirts tucked in, know my worth, can't tell me nothing. White Nikes, albino, pink cop my stilo, head to the top, bottom line is a motto.
Welcome back. It's Leon Francis with Blackbeard Logic on the Guns and the 701 Network. Let's get it.
Yeah, let's get it. So I'm going to set this up here. So this is Shawn Ryan, and he's talking to Pete Blaber. And they're talking about, and this is just one part of this entire discussion. And I cannot recommend enough to sit down and watch this particular. I mean, even if you don't like Shawn Ryan, sit down and watch this whole thing. Some of the things in there will make your blood boil. And again, it seems like in our society, in today's society, the garbage always rises to the top. The folks at the bottom, the folks expending the shoe leather and the elbow grease and giving their lives to this thing are by and large really good salt of the earth people. But the folks at the top. Now, the incident that we're going to talk about, and I don't know if the clip that I have goes deeply into the details, so I'm just going to kind of lay it out for you. This is an incident with Pat Tillman. If you guys remember Pat Tillman, he was like first round draft. I forget the NFL team had a $2 million contract, but I remember him having a interview. Like reporters were all over him because he decided instead he was going to put that on hold and go serve in the military because his father had served, his grandfather had served, he had uncles and like his whole the males. His brother was serving. Like the males in his family, they were a military family, and he's like, "Well, I'm not just going to go play football. I'm going to go and serve my country." That's the type of person that Pat Tillman and his family are. Just salt of the earth, good-hearted folks, and it went horribly wrong. So his ranger, he became a ranger, which is no small feat. No small feat. His ranger platoon was on a poorly planned mission in difficult terrain near the Pakistan border. Now, and I'm not going to get into the weeds on it, but basically everybody in the talk screwed these guys. One of the things that they should have never done, in my humble opinion, and in Blaber's humble opinion, and in the command, the ground command, the folks that were on the ground, they were like, wait, what? They had them split the platoon in some of the most hostile fighting environment that you'll ever see. And as a matter of fact, the guy on the ground was like, no, we're not doing that. And then the guy, the big hoity-toity said, that's an order. So there you go. But they ordered the platoon to split. It created chaos. They ended up going into a canyon, and it was so narrow that they were being fired upon. They couldn't see who was firing upon them. They didn't have ear protection, and they're firing like 50 cals and like big firepower in a canyon. So they're coming out of the canyon, and Pat Tillman's platoon, their portion, they broke the platoon up. So some guys were from different platoons. So the communication was garbage. The radios didn't work. They had line of sight radios. The folks in the TOC had switched over comms to the purple set, which was, I guess, only among the hoity-toity, so they couldn't hear anything that was going on the ground. The guys on the ground couldn't communicate with each other because they're in a canyon, and their line of sight radios did not work. And so they're trying to make the best of this just foobarred situation that the guys in the TOC, the hoity-toities, the generals, the guys that are disconnected from the actual fighting, ordered them to do. So they come around, they're trying to get out of this canyon, they're in a kill box. Folks are shooting down at them. And so they're shooting up at them. And in the chaos, Pat Tillman gets killed. Other people get killed also. But then the way the Army handled it is the portion. Well, the whole thing was a foobar. But this portion of this interview pertains to how they handled it. There was a cover-up. Like, everybody knew it was friendly fire. The battalion knew, everybody knew. But the Army decided to cover it up. And for 35 days, they lied to everybody. And this is 5 minutes from this conversation. And then on the other side of that, we're going to talk about General 4-star General David Hodne, who Pete Hegseth, like after this interview had concluded, they hadn't aired it yet, but they had concluded it, and these special forces guys and the guys that are in that community basically got back to Pete. Pete dug into this, found out what Hodne, who is now a 4-star general, who is like right up there with him, and he fired like, I think 4 of the dudes. Like this whole again, listen to the whole interview. There are foobars in all of this crap, and all of the crappiest people rose to the top. They rose to the top. And this is who we have. These are the reasons why we don't have faith in our institutions. It's things like this. Take a listen.
Know if you need anything, we'll get these guys, and off they went. But Kevin would have told the mom and Marie right there, not just that he was dead, but he was killed by friendly fire. And the whole thing that went on for basically 20 years would have been nipped right there with just the truth. So, the old adage, the truth doesn't get any better with age. Bad news doesn't get any better with age is, on steroids here. But they're aging it, and they're aging it 35 days, a memorial ceremony in San Jose where they read this Silver Star citation, charging up a hill, to counterattack an enemy that ambushed his comrades. And so here's the other part. On 3 days after it happened, the platoon comes back into Kaust, into the base in Kaust, and they do a hot wash. They're directed to do, and they do a hot wash. No one from the chain of command attends that hot wash. In the hot wash, you can really be, I was very proud of these guys because each squad leader got up. The first squad leader, who was in the gun jeep that shot Pat, said, it's not my guy's fault. We thought we saw an Afghan. We had been shooting in that direction for 12 minutes. They only shot up there because I shot. I'm the one who shot the Afghan. They did what they were supposed to do and shoot where their squad leader is. Don't blame my guys. Taking full responsibility. Next squad leader gets up, says, I was up on top of that spur. I knew Pat was down there. I didn't know he was supposed to be under my supervision or whether he was or not, but I know he doesn't know much about friendly fire or positions because he doesn't have experience in combat. Pat was very common sense, astute guy. So I take responsibility for it. So 2 guys get up, 2 squad leaders, 24 years old, and they take full responsibility like leaders are supposed to. And as I point out in the book, there's a huge difference between responsibility and blame. Responsibility means accountability, which is by default, if you're a leader, you take accountability for what happens to your men in a combat zone. Blame means you are admitting that it was your fault. So these guys took responsibility, not blame, but then by taking responsibility, this thing was flipped completely into blame. It was their fault. They should have made comms. They should never agreed to split the platoon. They should have known that their one element was behind the other.
Should have never agreed to split the platoon.
They were ordered to.
It came from the fucking XO.
Yep.
Where's
S3.
the XO?
The S3.
The
and
S3.
So here's one that'll get you. The S3 gave the order to split the platoon. He lied about it when he was first interviewed, 4 investigations. So the first one he said the company commander did it. Finally he admitted, the battalion commander said, no, the S3 gave the order in a separate interview. Then the S3 admitted it once he heard the battalion commander say, yeah, well, I told him too, but because they needed to hurry up. They were behind schedule. That guy was a major at the time. He just got promoted to 4-star general.
What's his fucking name?
I can't remember right now, but I'll get it for you. But he's a 4-star general.
Of course he is.
And he's probably...
Under Pete Hegseth?
Yeah.
Right now.
Yep.
Pete Hegseth has a fucking lying piece of shit who's too much of a pussy to take fucking responsibility under his command.
Yeah. Yep. Scapegoats the guys.
And I wish you knew this fucker's name.
Yeah, I'll remember.
4-star fucking general.
I'll remember.
A 4-star fucking general with an integrity problem.
Hodne.
Who's probably going to wind up being the Secretary of War sometime.
Yeah. Well, not.
What's his name?
Hodne.
General Hodne.
Yep. Yeah, so...
Wow.
So
man.
it just goes.
Could you
from bad to
imagine
worse.
watching 24-year-old fucking kids take responsibility for your
when
fuck
I
up,
interview guys,
and then you fucking get promoted to 4-star? This shit happens all the fucking time.
Yeah. And no one would ever know the difference if you didn't have a mom, a resilient, you're not going to tell me to shut the fuck up, mom. One of the things she told me in the beginning was, everyone, that people won't talk to me. People hang up the phone on me now in DOD and whatnot. And she said, if the roles were reversed and if I was the one killed, Pat would never give up till he found the truth. And so I'm going to do the same thing. And she did. And, I write a letter to her at the end of this book of what an amazing mom she is. And, I say, as a son of an amazing mom myself, I know Pat would be incredibly proud of you to know how you fought, how you never took no for an answer. You kept at it. You somehow found me, contacted me, were able to work and figure this whole thing out. And, she got some closure out of it, but it doesn't.
So, we're running short on time, but a couple of points I want to hit. Now, Pete Blaber is a Delta Force operator. This dude is one of the baddest dudes on the planet. He's been everywhere. all the worst fighting conditions that our boys have been fighting in, Pete Blaber has been there. He's a stand-up dude. Shawn Ryan is a Navy SEAL, and he's seen tons of crap. And one of the reasons why he got out is what they call toxic leadership. Now, Mary Tillman asked Pete Blaber, like she didn't know him from Adam, but she had heard about him, and she knew that like some of the things that happened. God, I can't. I'm trying to remember. There were several incidents where he came out. The Army had their version of things, and he came out and he was like, "Well, that's BS," and laid out the actual versions. So she got in contact with him. I don't know how. I think it was divine intervention, but she asked him to review 3,500 pages of documents. And because nobody in the Army would talk to her, she would call, she'd get the cold shoulder, they were ignoring her, and all she wanted was to find out what happened to her boy. Because you remember, Pat Tillman's brother was in this same firefight. When they split the platoons, his brother was on the team that basically friendly fired on Pat Tillman, a thing that should have never happened. I mean, it wasn't a fog of war situation. It was horrible orders. And to compound, like, that's bad enough. Like, I cannot encourage you to listen to the entire thing from front to end. It is eye-opening. But the Army's answer, because they had screwed up so bad, was to give Pat Tillman a false, heroic, silver star narrative. And they were like, well, the family's going to be... But no, his brother was in the platoon that killed his brother. Like, so he knew. And he's talking to his mom. He's telling his mom, you know, all of this crap. And again, then Major David Hodne issued the split order because the platoon was behind. And then he lied about it. He lied about it. And what you don't get in this interview is those two ground commanders, they felt like garbage. Because Pete Blaber said he would have told those guys, no, we're not splitting the platoon. He would have defied a direct order, and he's done it before. He would have just said, yeah, we're not doing that because that's a dumbass thing to do. You got to understand, they're not playing paintball, you know, down at the local paintball arena or whatever. They are in a fight for their lives. And these idiots, disconnected, toxic leadership, disconnected micromanagement, because these guys were behind doing just the mission was a garbage mission in the first place. That's another thing that doesn't come through in this clip. Again, you really got to listen. You really got to watch this. It is just eye-opening, the whole thing. But every command that they gave was a garbage command, including the command for them to go out here and do this garbage op that they were doing. They were like, why are we doing this? What's going on here? And then instead of the folks that issued those garbage orders taking the heat, the ground commanders who were actually human and felt the pain of losing people that they're fighting beside, they stood up and they were like, oh, yeah, I take responsibility for this, ownership of this. And what ended up happening is both of those platoons were treated like garbage. because Pat Tillman was a pretty big friggin' name. And then when those two ground command guys, when they like basically took it on their shoulders because they were feeling the guilt. They're like, no, we should have done this, we should have done that. That shifted. That gave these parasites at the top leave to just dump on those guys, and then their careers rose. They were like, yeah, those guys screwed up. They screwed up. And then Hodne, the guy that gave the most garbage command, ends up a hair's breadth away from being he's a 4-star general. But after recording this, like it hadn't even aired yet, Pete Hegseth went in and he gutted the top. Those 4-star, 3-star generals, he dug into their background. He dug into their files. There's speculation that Pete Blaber was instrumental in that, like personally. And Pete Hegseth got it like in the beginning of April is when they recorded this. And I think a day or two after this recording, this happened. Here, let me show you. And you look at the way the mainstream media frame this. Hegseth ousts Army Chief of Staff, Randy George, blah, blah, blah. He ousts Army's top general, further destabilizing the military. Army Chief of Staff fired by Hegseth, blah, blah, blah. And he fired like 4 or 5 of these guys. Here's another one. Singularly unqualified Hegseth execute purge of top. Hegseth, I don't care what you say about him. I don't care. I love this dude. This dude is awesome. And you'll notice, like you can Google or Grok or Chat GPT anything about these generals being purged. You'll never hear this story or why it was done. Because believe it or not, Pete Hegseth loves the military. That's his whole thing is rebuilding this war fighting machine that is second to none on the planet. And while guys like me would have frog marched their asses out with tar and feathers, I think Hegseth did it the right way. I do. I do think that these guys need to be court-martialed, though. I mean, they lied. They caused people to die. The PTSD suffered by this group of guys is unimaginable. A couple of them committed suicide. Imagine Tillman's brother, who was in the convoy that killed him. He has no idea whether or not his bullets struck his own brother. And they should never have even been in the position to do that. One of the things that that Blaber and Shawn Ryan talked about was the lies and the lack of accountability. Like, I mean, you heard Shawn. He's PO'd. And he says multiple times during this whole interview, one, the reason he got out of the SEALs is because of things like this. The disconnected careerism, micromanagement, pride, and cover-up of FUBARs. And I think that guys like this talking about these things is refreshing because without that, you get all of the conspiracy theories. Like I've heard, do you know how many conspiracy theories I've heard about Pat Tillman? Like it's unbelievable. And again, watch the episode. Even if you just watch this portion, like the entire, I think it's probably about 30 minutes long, and he goes through from the time they got the command, what they were doing, why they were there, all of that. He goes through the entire thing, so you understand it, and then you're like, oh. And so when you have that type of clarity, then all the conspiracy theories go away. They're done. It's just, to me, I congratulate, I applaud Pete Hegseth for firing this POS, for seeing him for who he was. And hopefully, and it seems like they are, hopefully, Hegseth can turn our military around, because it's been gutted. They've been recruiting garbage people. And I firmly stand by the statement that our military is second to none. Not just second to none. Like, they're the baddest dudes on the planet. When you give them a mission and point them that way, they're unstoppable. They're fearless. And like he said, these aren't like older guys. These are like 20, like he when he was talking about those ground commanders, I think he said the oldest one was like 24 years old. And they're broken. They're broken. And it wasn't even their fault. They took responsibility for all that pain. They took responsibility for their part in the FUBAR. Nobody at the top did. Nobody. And while the guys on the ground got PTSD and suicidal ideation and a litany of mental health disorders and having to interact with other servicemen and knowing that, that's the platoon that killed Pat Tillman and, that sort of thing. They had to live with that. These POSs at the top, they just kept rising. Even though it was their FUBAR. It was theirs. And I thought this was worth talking about. I thought it was worth talking about. Anyway, Leon Francis, Blackbeard Logic. This is a feel-good Friday. I mean, it is. And I think the right thing happened here and again, not for fanfare. You'll notice. Good dudes do things, do the right things, even if nobody hears about it. That's what character is. And the fact that you can Google this and you won't find this interview anywhere in it, but if you cross-check all of these generals, you'll find there are little nuggets in there. These generals that the liberal left was like, oh my God, he's firing all the top generals in the middle of a war and blah, 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 and this and that. No, he did it for a reason. There's a reason. And I'm telling you, it takes a dude with character not to go out in front of the cameras like it seems like every politician wants to do and go, I did this because blah, 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 and this. And no, he didn't do any of that. He was like, hey, you're gone. Why? You want to get into that? You want to fight this? Because I'll put this in the media. You're gone today. And that was it. That was it. Like, I'm going to tell you, the entire reason I know about this connection to Pete Hegseth is after he said the guy's name, I Googled the guy's name. And then I saw these stories of Hegseth wartime firing and blah, blah, blah. and all of that stuff. And I cross-reference it. I crunched the data, and I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your Friday. I am going to enjoy the rest of what's in this cup right here. And my son, probably go out there and play with the dogs. I highly encourage you. My man cave is out there in the garage, so I'll go out there. I'll sit out there until my wife yells at me about me not spending enough time with the family, which is a thing. And I'm sorry. I have flaws. I know it's going to shock most of you. Doug, I know you look at me and you're like, that dude has it all. No, my wife can tell you stories. But two things I wanted to mention before I go. One, in June, I think I'm going to start instead of broadcasting, because right now I'm broadcasting on 4 platforms simultaneously. I think I'm going to narrow those down to probably 4. Blackbeard Logic, Facebook, Guns in the 701, obviously, the 2 Twitters. Yeah, and the 2 Twitters. So I'm going to stop doing the live streaming on my Facebook page because I want to funnel all of the live streaming. Like on right now, I'm looking at it, it's like 14. I want to get that down to 4 and then stream all of the traffic to just those 4 sites, Blackbeard Logic and Guns in the 701. So stay tuned to that. I will have tons of reminders before that happens. That's why I'm going to do it in June. Right now, I'm kind of scattered all over the place. Second, my son is fighting again in June in Iowa. I don't know if I'm going to go. So if I don't go, I'm going to host right here at the farm a live viewing. And all of the guys and gals at Guns in the 701 will be invited. We're going to sit out. We're going to fellowship. We're going to shoot guns. We're going to drink. And we're going to watch my boy get in there and tune some folks up. So I wanted to mention those 2 things before I leave you guys tonight. What's my handle on Doug? I am embarrassed that you would ask me that, dude. It's Blackbeard Logic on Twitter. That's I'll send it to you, dude. How this? Hang on. Again, this is this dude right here. I'm going to show you that dude with the American flag right there. He doesn't know my hand. I've known this dude for longer than I've had Eli, and he doesn't know my handle. It's Blackbeard Logic, dude. Just look for the black beard. That's all you got to do. Leon Francis, Blackbeard Logic, Guns in the 701 Network, signing off. God bless, guys. Good night.